In this video, we're going to talk about 3 questions you should be asking person who is processing your data. Now, that person could be your vendor you're sending your data out to. It could be your internal lit support department. It could be a person in charge, whoever is working with one of those self-service e-discovery providers. It could also be your Uncle Bob if that's the person you give your hard drive to get data processed. It doesn't matter who. If you have a data, you give it to somebody to process, here are the questions you should be asking that person. Now you notice that I'm indoors today and people saying, why are you outdoors? Why are you doing all these weird things when you're making videos? Well, today is different. Today I'm indoors. So let me know if you like it more than outdoor ones. Also, I got some notes next to me, so it'll help me a little bit. And plus, maybe I can put some text on the screen here just to make video a little bit more interesting. But with that in mind, let's dive into question number 1, which is a human being reviewing processing errors and acting on them? It is very common to just let system handle everything. You know, you drag and drop your files in, you hit go, and you let the system do its thing. It load files, index, and everything all in one step. Awesome. But there are problems that happen when you don't have human review exception reports. So let's talk about some of them. And first one is missed PST files. I've seen a number of times where entire PSTs were not loaded into a processing tool because of something stupid, like either a coworker opened the PST file to sort of poke around and the file got locked, so it never got loaded because the error was generated and no one looked at the error or never noticed that the file is locked, and they kind of moved on. Maybe the file was very large and process of copying into the processing environment had timed out, and again, people didn't notice it, or in my case they did notice it and then they retried it. But if you leave it up to a computer, that the whole PST would be missed and that data would not make it in. The next thing human beings should do is look at corrupt files. We have a lot of corrupt files, and it's easy to kind of like throw them in the exception report and move on, but there may be file types that need further investigation. There could be files that a processing tool can handle. Example of that would be encrypted, self-extracting, multi-part RAR files. So if you're trying to hide some files, it's a good file format to use for your personal documents, because a lot of systems just not going to process that. And when an analyst sees file like that saying, oh, hey, we got a couple of gigs of this corrupt or unknown file type, let me poke around, see what that is. You know, they should be able to identify, like, hey, somebody put a big chunk of data in a file format that doesn't seem to be supported, right? So your processing tool or whoever's processing tool would just reject it, put it in exception. But if no one goes in to investigate and look further to see, well, maybe I can manually extract that archive, or maybe I found a TrueCrypt archive. That's kind of unlikely because those are well masked, but just in case somebody could find a TrueCrypt archive, for example, and they would contain a lot of data. So as much as we're trying to take people out of processing, we really need to have people put back in as a part of the process to review especially problems and make sure everything was done well by a computer. Moving on to the next item is OCR. And I heard this a lot during legal tech about companies talking about how awesome numbers, processing speeds they have, but some of them admit that the OCR may not be part of processing. Well, OCR definitely should be part of processing, and that is the question you should be asking your vendor. Do you OCR my documents? So where is that important? Well, easy one. PDF files. A lot of PDF files are not searchable, and many systems do a good job at identifying those and OCRing. However, what do you do if half of the PDF file is searchable and half is image only? Well, a lot of systems are fooled by that, and they'll go to the PDF file, they extract whatever text is there, and they say, yay, I got all the text out. However, there are tons of pages that don't have any text behind them, and they don't OCR that, and they just kind of let it go. So you will not get any hits on the portion of a document. Now, another file type to OCR are JPEGs, PNGs, and GIFs. It seems like a silly idea to OCR those because most of them are either people partying or somebody's baby. But I do see a lot of those containing screenshots. and those screenshots contain actual valid text that was, well, somebody took a screenshot of. So if you're not OCRing those documents, the text will be missing. So again, I think it's important to OCR those as well. And we're moving on to the last question. Where is my exception report? And a lot of companies will process the data, give it to you, and you have no idea if there were any problems, errors, issues, if things were resolved. Did somebody go in and repair any PST files? You want to know about it, because maybe if there was a bad PST file, you could provide them with a replacement. After all, if you repair a PST file, you usually carve around the damaged area and you have less data than the original PST file had. So that's something, if I was a client, I would want people checking with me. Is it okay for me to repair a PST file before processing or not? Or perhaps I can provide a replacement. So the exception report is very important as a secondary check. So you send the data out, somebody processed the data, they looked at the exceptions, they took an action, and then you want that exception report come back to you so that you could give a secondary look and do sort of like if anything jumps out at you. Now, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to start going through like every Word document in Excel and start going, I think I can open this. I can open this in QuickView. Can you try in QuickView? Your vendor's going to hate you for that, so don't do that. But if something does jump out, if you see like 4 GB corrupt file, well, perhaps you should ask your vendor to kind of poke around in there and see what they can get out of it, and maybe you want to do that as well. Anyway, the reason why I'm talking about these exceptions so much is I've been reading Craig Ball's e-discovery primer, and one of the things he put really well is exception is an exclusion, and exclusions need to be reported on. That's why me personally, I take exceptions very seriously, and I want to make sure my client knows about any exceptions, or at least that information is available to my client to look at should they choose to see it. And that concludes my 3 questions you should be asking person who is processing your data. If you think there are more questions to ask, put them in the comment section below. I'd like to know about it. Let me know if you like the indoor setup better than outdoor, or perhaps I should go do something crazy outside and talk about some other e-discovery stuff. Anyway, I will see you on the next video. Bye.